My name is Daniel Percival from Man in the High Castle.
I'm Issa Hackett.
Hi, I'm Rufus Stool.
And you're watching Movers and Shakers.
And you're watching Movers and Shakers.
Movers and Shakers.
Unlimited. I know you didn't ask me to say, hi, I'm Rufus Stool. I just improvised that. It was amazing.
All right, so Dan, here we are, San Diego Comic-Con. How has the week been so far?
Well, I only arrived here today, so I'm still getting used to it.
Bummer.
Well, I know I love it. I love coming to Comic-Con.
Okay, all right. Now, with this project, considering how what topics or what themes it addresses, can you talk a bit about it now, currently, coming here with the show versus perhaps coming for its pilot season and not really knowing what the reaction would be to what the show touches on.
You're talking about the political landscape changing in the last few years, or the last 2 years.
Sure.
I mean, this show was in prep way before the current political situation even emerged. But it's true not just of America, but all over the developed world at the moment. We're seeing a rise of extremist politics, a rise of, I don't know how to say it, but extreme right-wing populist policies and politics, which is reminiscent of the 1930s. And, of course, the show deals with what if fascism hadn't been defeated.
Right.
And so I think some of the messages of the show about why we can never allow this to happen again are even more important now than they were when we began it.
Sure. And to comment on that further, there, as you say, there are elements that are happening now in our day and age that are pretty absurd. So it kind of supersedes what happens in the show. But in doing the show, have there ever been moments where you're like, ooh, this?
There have been moments when we've been doing the show where we'd written something and then that something starts to happen and we backpedaled.
Okay.
Because, in some ways we can't.
It's too close.
It's too close. I think it's fair to say we're not living in a fascist world right now. But we are living in a world where intolerance is growing, prejudice is growing, violence is being legitimized as a form of protest, and all of these things are precursors to more extreme policies, and we have to be very, very wary to stop it now. We have to act, because even the germs from which fascism grow are present right now, and no country is immune from that.
All right. And lastly, with that being said, are there any without spoiling anything, any elements that you're excited to have fans see for this upcoming season?
Well, this upcoming season, we deal with something that Philip K. Dick, the originator of this story, he wrote some follow-up chapters to Man in the High Castle that was never published.
Okay.
But they talk about a Nazi plan to break into the multiverses. And this season deals with that. So we took our inspiration from Philip K. Dick's unpublished work and have built it into the narrative. So,
all right, awesome.
I think you'll like that.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time. So, Issa, here we are at San Diego Comic-Con. Can you tell me, I understand that many of you guys came in yesterday, so are you really going to have a chance to really enjoy, the show, or are you planning to, or is it going to be in and out?
I'm afraid not.
Okay.
They have us pretty busy while we're here, and I have, though, in the past, been able to move around the convention floor and all of that and watch other panels, but unfortunately this time, no. Sad.
Bummer.
So many great shows and great artists and all the rest.
All right. Well, jumping right into Man from High Castle, I was speaking with some of the other folks involved with the show and commenting on the political undertones that are in the show, and thinking about, when you guys first came here with your policies and versus now, and how the landscape has changed. When that first when that policies was happening, were you concerned, or not necessarily concerned? Maybe concerned is too strong a word, but what the reaction would be from viewers, and how it would be taken.
Originally, when we first released, you mean?
Yes.
I was concerned about the iconography. It's always tricky when you're depicting Nazis, especially in a fictional way. But the main reason my father wrote this is he felt like it was an imperative to make sure that people understood that fascism is always the enemy. It's an anti-fascist tale. And so for that reason, I think it is probably more relevant now than it was even when we began production on this. I think we've seen more, in my opinion, fascist tendencies, which, again, make this even more relevant, I hate to say.
All right, and I understand. I understand in this season that you're going to be touching on some chapters from the author that weren't done before.
Somebody tipped you off to that.
Yeah. So can you talk further about that and what folks can expect?
Yeah. So my father developed material for a sequel, which he never completed. He felt it was too dark to go back into the minds of Nazis, and he just chose not to do it. But he's got a big idea in it, and I took this to the showrunner. And said, you think this is something, we can use? And he's a fabulous collaborator, really smart guy. And they ended up implementing it, and it is, in fact, sort of the central big idea as we move forward to the end of the season. So I don't want to spoil it now, but the people here that see a clip will know what it means. It has to do with the metaphysics and the science fiction piece of it.
Okay, and actually, another thing I wanted to touch on is seeing that Man from High Castle is now incorporated, I guess you can say, into the landscape of pop culture, of shows that people cater to. With what we have now, we're here at San Diego Comic-Con. I'm sure, like at other cons, it's there as well, and with that comes cosplay. And oftentimes, you'll have folks from that are fans of the show. They'll cosplay a lot of those elements.
As long as they don't cosplay Smith.
Correct.
I don't want them cosplaying any Nazis.
Right. No, I'm saying that's actually happened. So are you aware of that? And
no, actually I'm not. But it's disturbing.
Yeah.
And we've, particularly this season with marketing, we've been very creative in how to get the point across and get the sort of narrative across without using certain symbols that are really just too tough, particularly now.
Okay.
After Charlottesville and all of the rest, it's tough stuff.
Well, thank you so much for your
nice
time.
To meet
You
Thank
too.
You.
All right.